Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 4th of November. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined by Blair Malloy. How goes it, Blair?
Morning, Derek. Yeah, not bad, not bad. First time I've been back on the pod since Sunday. I was obviously doing the pre-match at Hampden on Sunday afternoon, then bits and bobs through the game, but I've not been on since. So get to discuss it all over again, which is always a joy.
Yeah, I'm keen to get your thoughts on what unfolded. We'll get stuck into Rangers' statement yesterday as well. Before we do that, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, the great guys at Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust, and proud partners of the Rangers Review. If you're looking for a new fence, then look no further than Willows Fencing. Folks have got over 20 years of experience in the trade. No job is too big or too small. They offer free consultations and 10% off when you use the code Rangers Review over on their website, which you can see on the ticker below us, willows-fencing.com. Right, well, we'll kick off with, we need to, don't we? The Rangers have issued a statement. They say they remain unsatisfied after meeting with the SFA over the officiating in the League Cup semi-final defeat to Celtic. They were seeking clarification for the reason why Austin Trusty remained on the park after kicking Jack Butland in the head. Now, the club released a statement yesterday, and I'll read it for you folks if you haven't seen it. The handling of key incidents during Sunday's semi-final has again raised legitimate concerns about the consistency of refereeing in Scottish football. Club representatives met with the Scottish FA this evening to seek explanations for major decisions in the match, including the incident involving Jack Butland and Austin Trusty. Following that meeting, we remain unsatisfied with the explanation of the referee's decision in that incident, the application of the laws of the game, and the VAR review itself, which we do not believe was sufficiently robust or thorough. We recognise that refereeing decisions can impact both sides in a game, but too many important matches continue to be influenced by calls that are inconsistent and difficult to justify. These decisions have real consequences, determining results, impacting fans, and affecting the livelihoods of players, coaches, and staff whose work is judged by outcomes on the pitch. The club has consistently raised issues as they have occurred with the Scottish FA, but we do not feel there has been enough change in how refereeing is being developed at the highest level. We understand and share the anger among our supporters who have grown frustrated at the repeated inconsistencies in major match decisions that continue to affect the club. For the benefit of our supporters and the wider game in the country, we will continue to hold the Scottish FA to account and expect them to lead meaningful progress that delivers lasting improvement. So there you go. It follows the Rangers Fan Advisory Board's statement earlier, which slated the refereeing in Scotland demanding an independent review. Got to say, when I read it yesterday, Blair, I'll give you my feelings in detail in a minute, but I don't feel that it went far enough. The club are unhappy. And that's pretty much it. They're holding the SFA to account. Well, that's something we heard last season when the Václav Černý debacle unfolded. I don't think anything's going to change. I very much expect a similar statement to come out when Rangers are involved in another refereeing nonsense. I don't think it went anywhere near far enough. They went to a meeting. They're unhappy with the meeting, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I don't really think that statement tells the fans or tells anyone on the outside anything they didn't already know. I think it was a statement for statement's sake, to be honest. I don't really think that there was anything in that really kicked the story onwards or really kicked the narrative onwards or really got anyone closer to any sort of resolution that they want to from this situation. I mean, we all know it. We've looked at it hundreds, thousands of times. It's been replayed on social media, on TV. We know it was a red card. It should have been a red card. It's as simple as that. Rangers have went to they went and approached the authorities to have the discussion, to have the conversation about why it's not a red card. They're not happy with the explanation they've been given, and that's it. Really, that's where we find ourselves, and it's now a case of where do we go from here. I think the next step in this and the next part of this story will come when Willie Collum does come out on his VAR show, when we will discuss this, and I think that everybody involved with this will be very intrigued to hear the VAR audio tapes, to hear the discussion between VAR and between Nick Walsh as to why it was assessed and adjourned not to be a red card, and to see the description, and to see what was going through the collective official's mind at that point, not to give the red card. Of course, I spoke to James Tavernier in the mix zone after the game on Sunday, and he was asked, "Look, you spoke to Nick Walsh on the field. What was his description? What was his explanation about why he didn't send him off?" And he said it was all about the force. It was all about the amount of force with which he left the boot on the head, which it does seem a bit preposterous that there's a sliding scale of how hard you can kick someone in the face,
Bananas, yeah.
to be warranted a red card or not. So I don't really think that is an acceptable explanation. If that's what Rangers have been given, and we can only this is only conjecture at this point. If that's the explanation that Rangers have been given, that's just a repeating of what's been said on the outside. Then I can understand why there is a frustration there, and why the club don't feel as though they've got any more answers.
Yeah.
Because, as the comment says there, that the force point just seems irrelevant. It doesn't seem like it's either a kick in the head or it isn't. You know what I mean? I've never seen someone be
I
kicked in
know.
the head just too softly. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was the wrong decision, but I don't really know what happens now.
Yeah.
I like I said, I think the releasing of that discussion between Nick Walsh and the VAR will be interesting to see what actually took place there. But as you said, I don't really think we're any closer. And I think I like to look at this as a more broad issue, that I think refereeing in Scotland is all across the board very poor. And
Yeah.
I don't really see how this whole scenario and how this is going about without anyone really taking accountability gets us as a country, as a game, any closer to getting better referees. And that's, I think, what we all want. I think we all just want fairness, we want consistency, we want to see decisions being made across the board that are correct, and I don't really see how any of this gets us any closer to that.
Yeah, Alistair says, surely a case for retrospective action. We've seen yellows upgraded to reds before, so that's his view on that. It was certainly a red card, there's no two ways about it. But we spoke to good friend of the show, Mike McCurry, was on yesterday. He was good value as ever, and he was talking about said incident as well. And given the studs that Austin Trusty was wearing as well, one of those hits Jack Butland in the eye. We're talking about a very serious injury there. So, yeah, it doesn't matter about the force, the intent. You mentioned James Tavernier in his chat with Nick Walsh, just alarming to me. Yeah, that you can get away with kicking players in the head these days. And yeah, serious concerns. I've said it before prior to the game when the officials were announced for this game. I had concerns. We'd be talking about the officiating days after the event, and here we are again. And I don't think there's a real appetite to improve standards, despite what Willie Collum may come out and say. Fully expect him to come out on his show and apologise and say there'll be red cards going forward. Well, what good does that do Rangers at this point? And for me, the statement, it's gone beyond words now for Rangers. I would like to see them try and flex their muscles and come up with some action. Now, I don't know what that could be. CGM 55 with the point says, realistically, what can the club do? We can't just say we aren't playing anymore and go in the half. I absolutely get that, but they need to do something, or else it's just going to happen again and again. For me, I
Yeah,
can't see it being any tension.
as much as I see why this sort of TV show to come out and discuss these refereeing errors as as an attempt by those at the top to bring the fans into the game, and an attempt
Yeah,
to bring some transparency, and I understand that. I understand the method behind it, but for me, the sheer optics of having a TV show that is solely reliant on there being so many mistakes that you can fill a full television show with it is ridiculous.
yeah,
And the fact that they have to keep putting this on and they have to keep making this a thing, surely the best thing for all parties is that that show doesn't have to exist. I mean,
exactly.
we all want a situation where there isn't enough mistakes that you have to host a full half hour to talk about it, you know? So the
Yeah,
fact that that is even a thing is is quite frankly ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I think we should all be looking towards a point where we don't have to have the head of referees to come out and go through the full checklist of mistakes that have been made.
Yeah. One thing, I mean, Mike brought this up yesterday. Make up the refs for a start. Let's hear what they've got to say. Let's hear and make it up so that the fans in the stadium can hear it as well. Let's hear what they're saying to the guys in the VAR booth. Let's stick Mike. I know in Italy they've got cameras, body cameras on the referees. Let's stick that on. Let's spend a bit of money on the referees themselves. As fact, well, that's another issue. I don't think you said it there. I don't think the pool of referees in this country is anywhere near good enough for such, especially not just Rangers who are affected by these ridiculous decisions. I mean, the St Mirren Hearts game the other week there was ridiculous as well when St Mirren had a goal disallowed. But yeah,
that's what I mean about this is a broad church. This is I
exactly.
know there is a lot of this is against Rangers at this very point, but I looked at that St Mirren goal the other week, and that's one of the worst decisions I've ever seen ever. And I just absolutely could not see the foul in that at all. And
I
you
know.
understand why fans get aggrieved. You understand why managers get aggrieved because it's just not good enough. And I think there has to be some sort of methods put in place to try and up the levels and up the standards. And it doesn't seem like
I think
it's
that,
going
yeah,
in a forward direction. It doesn't seem like it's going in an upward trajectory. It just
no.
seems like the same mistakes to all clubs are happening again and again and again.
I don't think there's an appetite to do that. When Willie Collum was appointed, said it before, when Crawford Allen left, there's a number of apparent applicants from all over the globe, but Willie Collum was the man who was the leading candidate in that, and that's the guy they plumped for. I'm not too sure that was the case at that point. It looks like jobs for the boys, and I don't think anything's going to change with the current incumbent there at this point in time, and I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. So, over to you, Rangers. It's up to them now to try and do something to improve these standards. Will they try and get other clubs on board as well? Because I know there are serious gripes from elsewhere, but it's nowhere near good enough. Big thank you to the Blue Yonder, who says VR clearly hasn't improved the standards of decisions. Should SPL clubs vote on keeping it? Well, thank you for the donation, buddy, as well. That's very kind of you. I know was it Sweden they scrapped it? The clubs voted on it and they get rid of it. It was a Scandinavian country anyway, I think. I would get rid of it in a heartbeat, incidentally. And I know that there's some decisions that go for you. There's some that blatantly go against you. If you've got guys trying to work it that don't know how to work it properly, don't see the point in it, I would actually just get rid of it anyway. I think it just ruins the whole atmosphere at football now. And I'm not a big fan yet. VR for you, Blair, would you bin or keep?
I was very much in the camp for bringing more technology into the game because I thought it would minimise these discussions. I thought it would actually take us away from this, and it would allow us more to focus on the football. But it really seems to have done the opposite of that. And
Yeah,
I read a stat that was 2 points here. I read a stat that linesmen before VAR came in across there was a broad scope study done, and linesmen were getting it was 98% of decisions correct, and that wasn't enough for us. We wanted even more.
I know.
But I in another bit of work that I've been doing, have been covering some games in the Scottish Championship over the last few weeks.
Yeah,
Been out and about watching a few of those games, and there's no VAR in that division. And let me tell you,
so
it is
refreshing.
such a breath of fresh air
Yeah,
watching a game like that. It is
yeah,
so refreshing just to see the game in full flow, at full tilt. Just when a goal happens, they just there's no cap on it. Everyone just embraces it, and you're
yeah.
not waiting on something being ruled out. You're not waiting on some check. The game doesn't get held up by it, and then you're not left debating it for
I
days
know.
and weeks after it. Because if something goes wrong, like it was in the old days, generally people just go, "Well, it was a mistake," and then you move on.
Yeah,
Because now we've backed ourselves into a corner here, where with VAR, the public and the watching spectators are expecting the referees to get nothing wrong because they see it as now you don't have an excuse anymore because you're
yeah.
getting so many angles, you're getting so many replays. How can you still get it wrong? So they've backed themselves into a corner to leave themselves with little to no margin of error. Whereas you look at games like I said in the Scottish Championship, no VAR, just going full tilt, and if a referee gets something wrong, then they move on, and the fans move on, and you go, you know what, it was a human error, and we keep going. And I just feel like at its core, football was just a lot more enjoyable when that was the case.
Yeah, it was told when it came in. I remember when it came in England, they were all saying, "Oh, it'll stop the arguments in the pub and all and what have you," but it's increased them tenfold. So I'm comfortable with one guy making a mistake, a human error, if you like. I'm not comfortable with a group of guys looking at an image on a screen and all coming up with the wrong decision. That is, I feel very uncomfortable with that. So for that reason, I don't think it's worth the money, and I would be binning it. Moving, there's just a few points that I wanted to, well, a couple of points here. Graham Corkin says, good friend of the show is Graham, says, imagine your kid coming home from school telling you they were kicked in the head and you contact the school only to be told it was just a little kick in the head. Yeah, absolutely. It shows you the ridiculousness of it. But yeah, and Bolt Your Ball Bag says, Derek, on a positive note, where can I purchase one of those Rangers review mugs that Josh and Blair had when they recorded in the studio? I'll tell you what, there's actually a shop page on our website, and I'll bung in the link here, buddy. So if you click that, you should take you through to the page where you can buy one of those mugs, a collector's item, if you may. Not what's the size of those mugs? They're not proper Sports Direct efforts, Blair, are they? But they're substantial mugs.
They're not comedically big mugs that you can have about 4 coffees in. They are a very ordinary sized mug, very nice to drink out of as well. I'm giving it a big sale here, Derek. They're very fetching mugs indeed.
Right, let's move on. There's a piece, of course, it was one of the big factors in the game on Sunday, but I think the reason Rangers failed to win that game was down to their own failings once again, and recruitment issues, alarming recruitment issues rearing its head. Chris has got a piece on the website this morning just on the striking situation and where Rangers go from here with regards to Danilo, Miovski and Yusuf Chermiti. I think for me, Rangers need to, well, I think, I don't know what they do. If there's money in the bank, they need to spend it, obviously. But do I trust the football department, Kevin Thirlwell, his son, and the guys that he's brought in to the club to bring in a striker that can score goals? No, I don't. Your thoughts on the striking situation, Blair, and where Rangers sort of fell short on Sunday?
Yeah, I put a post on X about this after the game, and I said that obviously the refereeing controversy, the refereeing decisions will dominate the headlines, and that will take over all of the discussion on this. But what shouldn't be forgotten is that Rangers missed some absolutely glorious chances on Sunday afternoon. That game could have been entirely different if Rangers had a seasoned finisher up front that wasn't Yusuf Chermiti. You think of his 2 chances in that first period. The first one, a glorious one-on-one, where he somehow contrives to put it wide. The second one at the back post where he makes no contact with it, and you see there's a video circulating. You see the frustration of Nico Raskin in the middle of the park middle of the box rather, when he misses that. Of course, Raskin missed a good chance himself. Kisama missed a couple of good chances. So it wasn't as if Rangers didn't have their opportunities on Sunday afternoon, but it's indicative of the recruitment and of the striking options that the club have been left with. The fact that this isn't working, and they don't have someone that they can trust to put the ball in the net. And like I said, Danny Rule could have all the best tactics in the world. He could have all this great motivation skills. He could be really rejuvenising Rangers and doing a lot of good things. If he's not got somebody to put the ball in the net, you're on to plums, because it's not going to work, you know.
Exactly.
And I think in that piece from Chris on the website today, I think it's a really good read. It's quite, he doesn't miss when it comes to analysing the downgrade in terms of Rangers over the summer. So I'd very much go and urge everyone to have a read at that. But Rangers lost 60 goals out of their team last year between Dessers, Iggeman and Václav Černý. I know I was quite critical of maybe bringing back Václav Černý at the beginning of the season. I'll tell you what, I'd take him back now in a heartbeat after seeing what's been on offer the early part of this season. But you look at him who was available, you look at Abdallah Sima who was available. Abdallah Sima was, he just looked so much more dangerous than any of the forward 3 that Rangers have just now. And I think that is what the overriding thing that stuck with me leaving that game on Sunday, it just you never had any faith that Rangers were going to score any time they were going forward with those forwards. I mean, you've
No.
seen Danilo's finish against Hibs during the week. An excellent finish, don't get me wrong. And I said that at the time. That is a little glimpse of what Danilo can do. But even that was really all they created against Hibs. And it's been a
Mm.
major problem for Rangers this season that going forward they just haven't been clinical enough in the boxes. They haven't been had that sort of instinct in front of goal. They haven't looked as though they were really dangerous to go and score more than one goal in a game. You look at, again, I'm hesitant to be too harsh on Yusuf Chermiti because he is young, and I don't think that really going in on a young boy like that does anyone any favours, especially when you actively do want him to succeed. But I think little things. There is a lot conspiring against him to be a success at Rangers right now. You've got the price tag, you've got the fact that Kevin Thelwell has given
Yeah,
him the big sell, saying
it's
that
that.
he's
It's
given him the same he's given him the same treatment that Philippe Clement gave Hamza Egeman. And as we're seeing right now, Hamza Egeman is on a different stratosphere to Yusuf Chermiti at the moment. He is by far and away streets ahead of where Yusuf Chermiti is. And you've also got the little things like the celebration against Kilmarnock when he's
mm,
given it the hand, the speaking gesture to the fans. It's like, all right, fair enough. If you feel as though you've been slighted or you feel as though criticism is unjust, but at the same time, I think maybe wait a little bit down the line before you start doing things like that,
yeah,
especially when you've not really shown anything out with that. And the major disappointment one for me so far has been Bojan Majowski as well, because I really expected a lot from Bojan Majowski. I really thought that him, I maybe naively thought that Rangers were going to get the Aberdeen Bojan Majowski, the Bojan
right.
Majowski who had a goal record of 1-2 the
Yeah.
last season at Aberdeen before he went to Girona for I think it was £7 million. So I thought Rangers were going to be getting that guy, but he has not shown up so far at all. Apart from really his debut in the Old Firm game when he really looked lively and he was playing on the shoulder. I don't know if this is a tactical thing. I don't know if Danny Rule just has to try and unlock the best out of him because I think that or objectively on paper, Majowski's probably the best of the three forwards, but
Yeah.
he's shown nothing so far, and that's been really, really disappointing.
Darren with the point says he doesn't look fit. Perhaps that may very well be the case, but he has been a disappointment since he's came in. The point here from Haggis Killer as well. Prior to Rule, we were creating half chances in City. We created high quality chances and scored zero. That can't continue. Yeah, absolutely. Gilt-edged opportunities that you have to score, and certainly on Chermiti, if you're paying that sort of money, I don't care if it's one of those ones where you think, oh, we can't afford them next year, which was just a bonkers thing to say for me. You need to be scoring those. Anyone worth their salt in Scottish football scores at least one of those opportunities. I'd honestly take guys like Simon Murray or what have you. I think you'd hang your hat on guys like that, at least burying one of those opportunities. I just don't see it with them. It's not his fault, as you said, with the transfer fee. But the fans just associate him with Kevin Thelwell, who, of course, is not a very popular figure at this point in time. And I just don't see it working for him. I would be... This is a major concern of mine. Danilo, I think, can contribute. I was actually... Were you surprised to see him getting hooked at half-time, Blair? I thought of the two, I would have kept him on.
Much so, Derek. I was absolutely stunned that he was brought at half time. I thought he was absolutely the one to come off. I think I said to Josh at half time in the stadium, there's two players on that park that should absolutely be taken off, and they were Nasser Gia and Yusuf Chermiti, and both of them remained on the park going into the second half. And
Yeah.
the fact that Danilo came off, I thought was really, really strange. I think it feeds into this point that I made last week that I don't think Danny Rule sees Danilo and Majowski as a functioning partnership, but
Mm,
I think he's probably going to have to reassess that because Danilo and Chermiti in that first half offered little to nothing apart from Chermiti's very clear, obvious opportunities that he had, and then you look into that second half, Majowski and Chermiti acting as a sort of pair just also didn't work at all. So I don't know where he goes from that here. I don't know what kind of structure he tries to build the strikers around. I don't know if it is a case of okay, rip it up and start again, and you have to just go and get another forward in January. You have to say, look, none of these guys are going to cut it, so we're
yeah.
going to have to go and invest again, and you're going to have to go and get a guy who it can prove that he can score goals and very quickly, because that's the name of the game right now. Rangers have to get somebody that knows where the net is now, not in 6 months' time, not in a year, not in 2 years. They need somebody to score now, because that is what's going to give you the breathing space to develop guys like Chermiti if he is going to have this potential high ceiling that Kevin Thelwell keeps telling us about.
Yeah, just going back to Cherny, you mentioned there, I think he was on mad money at Wolfsburg, and I don't think there was an appetite to come back to Scotland. He's now playing in Turkey, of course, alongside Ridvan Yilmaz, no less, at Besiktas. So there you go. That's one of the big recruitment failings in the summer, that they've treated Rangers like a development club. And not the club they are, which is a winning club. You need to win week in, week out. You need to buy players for the here and now. I get the whole player trading. You want to bring players in and sell them on for a bigger fee. That's all well and good. But it was a disaster at the recruitment, and hence why I'm not convinced they'll get it right in January. Unless Danny Rule, who I think has got something about him, has an overriding say on who comes in. I think... for me, I think he understands what is required at Rangers from just over a couple of weeks he's been in the job now. So it's early days, of course, but I just sense that he's got something about him. But like you said, you can only work with the tools that you have. And if he gets Rangers closer to the top two before the window opens, then he's done a remarkable job for me. Big game on Thursday, Blair, and some news with regards to the opposition folks. They've been dealt a bit of an injury blow. 3 players are not going to be pitching up at Ibrox on Thursday night. Paulo Dybala, the World Cup winning player, has suffered a bizarre injury, injured his thigh after missing a penalty in their weekend defeat to AC Milan. Spanish fullback Angelino won't travel. Of course, you remember him from the Seville run days. He scored the goal over in Germany. Former Leipzig defender. He's suffering from asthmatic bronchitis. And another one who won't be part of the squad is Even Ferguson. He was ruled out last week after suffering ankle ligament damage. That being said, they're going pretty great guns in Serie A at the moment, Blair, although they did lose to Pilsen. I never watched the game, but that was a real turn up for the books, that one. How do you see that going? Rangers, Chris said it's a bit of a waste of time now, the Europa League, and I get what he means given the disastrous start to the group stage campaign. Rangers need to win this game if they have any outside hope of, let's be honest, that the best they can hope for is making the playoff in the knockout phase. Do you think they have enough about them to get a result?
Yeah, I do. I don't want to be as pessimistic as Chris, but I do also kind of subscribe to the idea that I think Europe is pretty much gone now. I think that if you lose your first 3 games against the 3 perceived easiest teams that you're going to play, I think you've given yourself a massive uphill task to try and get through this now. And then now we're coming into a run of games where there are some seriously quality operators in there. And I think it's going to be a real tough test. Not to say that Rangers can't get a result. That being said, as you said there, Roma did lose against Victoria Pilsen, who I thought were not up to much at all at
How
Ibrox.
Rangers
I
beat
thought
them,
Rangers
but
ran.
how Rangers beat them in Panathinaikos will remain a mystery to me until the end of time.
Yeah, the Rangers absolutely ran over the top of Pilsen that night, and they looked absolutely incredible. And I've got no idea where that team went, if that was just a complete one-off. But yeah, if Roma can lose to them, then yeah, little 2 + 2 = 5, then maybe Rangers can go and get a
Yeah,
result. I think it would be a result that would definitely lift the spirits after Sunday. I think, as you said there, that I think one of the positives that is coming out from this last sort of week is that there is a lot of good feelings still towards Danny Rule. I do think he probably got the team slightly wrong on Sunday, but I think there is a willingness for fans to really get behind him, because I think he culturally, and I think there is a lot about him that is a really good fit. I think
yeah,
he's instantly a much better fit than Russell Martin was.
yeah.
So I think there is a willingness from the fans to really get behind him and really want him to succeed and give him a bit of a chance to make something of his managerial tenure here. I think it's probably more important that the Rangers don't get battered on Thursday. I think it's probably more important that it isn't a really bad result, because that can be quite damaging in terms of growth going forward. And I think that just coming out of there with like a semi-positive result, a draw, I take a draw just now, coming out of that game, and then get back to the league, because that is where Rangers really need to put all their focus now, because I think that's going to be the name of the game, just to try and build those league wins together. Because after Sunday, I know not really spoke about Sunday too much, but I wasn't massively impressed with Celtic either. I thought they played better than they have been in recent weeks, but they played with a better tempo, they played with a better urgency than Rangers. But I still don't think they were a massively great side that are totally unachievable that you can't catch this year with a good run of results. Again, I think Hearts probably looking on that semi-final, looking at Rangers and Celtic playing each other, going, we've got nothing to fear here. But I definitely think that Rangers need to turn all their attention to the league and just try and put that run of games together, 3, 4, 5 wins, and then just see where it takes you. And I think Europe is a little bit of a side issue at the moment. Just to touch on the striker point once again, as I know you've got that comment coming up here on Finlay Curtis. He is a player that I would love to see get a chance now, more consistently
Can't
in
be
the
any
team,
worse.
because what he did earlier in the season, the goals he came up with earlier in the season, he had that bit of confidence, and he is something that I don't think that Rangers have up front right now. He is such a natural finisher that I think just putting him in those areas, he would fare better. Now, I understand he's a young player. I understand Danny Rule maybe wants to get him into the side a little bit slower, but if he does have that natural finishing ability, which Yusuf Chermiti seems not to be blessed with, I just don't understand why you don't give him a chance, give him a run out, give him a start against Roma, and just see what he can do.
Yep, I totally agree with you on that one. I want to see more of young Finlay. I think it's been a crying shame that we've not seen more of him. He certainly, his goal against Panathinaikos, I think I'm sure we were on a video saying we can't be playing him every minute of every game in case you burn him out, and we've hardly seen him. Came on at St Mirren, of course, where salvaged a point for Rangers over there, but that's been about it. There's a point coming in as well.
The St Mirren one's a one for me, Derek. I remember being at that game in Paisley that day, and it was so frustrating that nobody in a Rangers jersey was shooting. They just weren't taking a shot on. Finlay Curtis comes off the bench and just puts his boot through it, and it deflects in. And you go, this is exactly what's missing. You just need someone with that little bit of impetus, a little bit of urgency to just take something on and see what happens.
Yep. And there's a point as well. Me and Johnny touched on this after the game on Sunday. Big Al 69 says, Derek, what's happened to Cameron and Bayrami? I take Bayrami over Tello Asgard right now. I don't know why he's not really getting a look in at this point. He's not part of the European squad, so he won't be involved on Thursday. And Lyle Cameron, apart from coming on as a sub against Kilmarnock, was it Kilmarnock? Wasn't it? He hasn't been seen, and he's another one. I actually said at the time, if he hadn't signed that pre-contract last season, Blair, I don't think Kevin Thirlwell would have sanctioned. That's Kevin Thirlwell and Russell Martin would have sanctioned that one. But he's someone I want to see more of. I like the look of him. Provides a lot of energy in there. Would you like to see a pair of these playing more of a part, do you reckon?
Yeah, it was sitting at Hampden on Sunday, just behind the bench. It was Lyle Cameron and Nadeem Bayrami, Clinton and Ciala and Dujon Sterling all sitting together, and the Rangers coats not featuring. And you're looking at that going, there's a good bit of talent there that could actually help the team and could maybe make a bit of a difference on the park, because it certainly looks though they're lacking whatever they need on the park at the minute. I think Bayrami is an interesting one. He obviously had a bit of a slow start to his Rangers career. He scored that goal early. Is it Alloa against? He scored that goal early in the season. In the League Cup, he scored a great goal. I don't think he's done a whole lot wrong to be not warranted to have an inclusion this far. And as far as Lyle Cameron goes, I don't know if that's a recurrence of a long-term injury. I don't know if that's if there's something there that he's not quite up to speed, because that seems certainly a really strange one, because Lyle Cameron really impressed me early season. He really looked like he had a bit about him. He was going forward. He was driving forward with the ball, and he added a bit of energy to that midfield. And I think it's unusual, and it's a little bit strange that he has not been included so far. So I'd definitely like to see him into the team a little bit more.
Yep. Right, folks, that will do us there. A big thank you to Blair and to you all for tuning in to the show. Just a heads up, later, around about 7 this evening. I'll be speaking to a guy that covers Roma in great detail. He'll give us a bit of an insight into them ahead of Thursday and what we can expect. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. Whatever you're up to, then have a good Tuesday, folks. And yeah, we'll speak to you. In fact, is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday. Yeah, I'm losing track of days. enjoy your day, afternoon, whatever you're doing, and I'll chat again soon. Bye for now.